Okay, here we are at Module 8, which is the last module of the Site Reliability Engineering Foundations course. This module is relatively shorter than some of the other longer ones. We're going to talk about what is SRE relative to other types of software frameworks, a little discussion about the future, some reflection on that, and overall reflection on the course. So let's get started. The syllabus. The other frameworks we're talking about relative to SRE are Agile, ITSM, DevOps, Value Stream Management, and Platform Engineering. We'll also spend some time on SRE evolution considerations. Structure is the same as the others. There's a video in this case. There's a comparison between SRE and ITSM. There's a case story by VictorOps, some self-reflection discussion around how does Agile and SRE relate to each other and help each other? What do you see as the future for SRE? And maybe you can, as a capstone activity, sketch out your own understanding of what is SRE and what you might want to be doing about it as a result of this course. Okay. So SRE in relation to other frameworks. There are many frameworks out there. In general, frameworks are intended to help you conceptualize, proceduralize, in general, organize your work or work of others around whatever the topic of the framework is. There is no universal framework. There have been some attempts actually to try to come up with something like that, but it's not really, it doesn't work out that well. There are different frameworks for different, they're optimized for different aspects of our value streams and products and efforts. It can be feeling a little bit like a maze to have to navigate all these different frameworks for different parts of your processes and procedures. That's what the metaphor here is on the right. If you want to go from, let's say, product conception through to operations, it can feel like a little bit of a maze to have to navigate things like Agile, DevOps, DevSecOps, ITSM, and so on. So we're going to cover each of those and point out where there are some complementary capabilities that leverage. The more you can understand all these different frameworks, the better. That's part of your learning journey. I would recommend you try to become familiar with all of them over time. I don't think you're going to see a lot of articles like, oh, because of, let's say, DevOps, Agile is dead, or because of DevOps, Agile is dead, or these are generally not true. I wouldn't pay a whole lot of attention to it other than maybe there's some lessons learned to understand how they relate to each other, because there is no universal framework. Sometimes the Agile practices are more important than DevOps and so on and so forth. It depends on the circumstance. The best idea is to know what they are so you can know how to take advantage of what's the goodness out of each of the frameworks. So organizations are looking at their whole value stream, optimizing their approach according to what's important for that organization. Kind of jumping to a conclusion, what does Agile provide? It provides a unified way of unifying business and delivery. It was really intended to help get feedback from clients quicker than the older waterfall approach. But in general, it serves a purpose to help make sure that the development activities are matching what customers and the business need. DevOps really is advocating, automation and rapid delivery and organized high quality delivery, continuous delivery, and then deployment of what is being delivered, primarily to drive the speed of deployment so that when you finally have something developed, it can be integrated and validated and deployed quickly. Otherwise, that set of processes becomes a bottleneck. SREs provide business-wide focus on stability and reliability. Generally speaking, that's what SREs benefits are. ITSM, mostly folks on the ops side are familiar with ITSM. I find it interesting. A lot of the dev side people generally don't even know what ITSM is, but there's a lot of lessons learned with ITSM. there's a lot of procedures and models that development could learn from too. But in particular, ITSM codifies a lot of IT procedures. You can learn from reading that, and also it tends to be used in audits because of the codification of procedures and models. Most of the other frameworks don't really have, let's say, as well and as organized a procedure document, right? There are documents around, but there's not like one-stop shop. ITSM through the Axion publications is something you can quote as chapter and verse type of thing, and that's a big benefit. VSM, or in other words, value stream management, is really helping to organize and improve the flow end to end across a value stream. Platform engineering is mostly about providing standardized, automated, and scalable infrastructure foundations, or at least portals that make it a lot easier to use the plethora of tools and procedures and processes that are needed to make things work and transit the whole value stream. So that's the short version of how these things relate, what their mutual benefits are. Here's a slightly longer version. Think of it as a diagram, and since we're looking at SRE as the core framework in this course, the diagram is, okay, let's think about the relationship between SRE and Agile, DevOps, platform engineering, ITSM, VSM, in no particular order, by the way. The order is not particularly critical, and just trying to understand the relative value. So as an activity, maybe turn off your recording and reflect on this question. How does Agile inform what we do in SRE? In other words, how can Agile help SRE? What things that exist in the Agile framework that will help when you're doing SRE? I can give you some ideas, but I'd recommend you think it through yourself. Maybe do some lookups. Great opportunity to use your AI chat prompting skills to help you with this. But for example, Agile is associated with this idea of Scrum and backlog management, sprints, things of that nature. If you're developing an automation project to help reduce toil, these Agile practices can be quite useful. Just because you're doing an automation project doesn't mean you should necessarily revert to a waterfall approach. Agile can help, iterate your way to, a successful outcome. That's one way Agile could help. For your own, work, think about other ideas. Okay, assuming you did that, I'll move forward. Here's an actual answer to the question. But again, this is not the only answer. I'm sure you came up with others. SRE teams can operate in an agile way using frameworks like Scrum and Kanban. The backlogs of Toil can make those work visible. Automation can be prioritized in your backlog grooming. Agile ceremonies could help ensure coordination, visibility, prioritization. This idea of definition of done is particularly useful. The Agile approach where you're trying to define when you're done. Make sure that the things that are of concern to SREs, like production concerns, are part of that definition. That's an important way that Agile and SRE should be operating together. Value delivered through working software. So this idea of being able to demonstrate something's working as you go along is useful for toil reduction projects and other things as well. Okay, how about integrating value stream management and SRE to help organizations achieve greater visibility, control, governance over delivery of high value outcomes? The idea that you can keep a track of the whole end-to-end value stream through value stream management platforms, for example, through value stream mapping, gives you visibility all the way from the start of your processes right into customer needs. That can help you get alignment with the business outcomes, improving collaboration end to end, improve efficiency, and that in turn can lead to a process of continuous improvement. What about SRE and platform engineering. So working together, platform engineering, and SREs can drive improvements in software reliability, availability, overall business outcomes. How does it do that? Well, by having a consolidated set of tooling that are supporting your SRE platforms and efforts will help you accomplish reliability and scalability more efficiently. The platform can be used together while you're implementing oil reduction automation projects. Certainly having a common portal would help to lead towards standardized processes. You might get improved observability by having some common observability tools available through the platform. Streamlining incident response, maybe you can build in the incident response process right into your platform, and even gathering data for things like blameless postmortems. That in turn can improve productivity, certainly for developers, but SREs as well, because you've got a more integrated, streamlined portal and platform. SRE and lean with DevOps in general, and we talked about this early on in the course, but organization silos are broken down. The idea that dev and ops should be working together. The DevOps term implied that DevOps has a lot to do with working with ops, but in reality, as we've seen, DevOps is really more about delivering to ops, but SRE is more about what happens in ops. And together, DevOps and SRE really cover the end-to-end spectrum of things. You can add elements to your pipelines. A DevOps pipeline kind of finishes at the point of deployment. SRE have concerns and even well into production, things like gradual progressive releases, testing and monitoring in production. These things you can consider that your automation and pipelines are essentially extended through SRE practices. Metrics and measures can be improved. One of the things I haven't seen done a lot, but I'm not really sure why, but if you look at all the DevOps metrics like the DORA metrics and so on, the SLO concepts of air budgets and air budget policies could be useful for that. So that's a way that SRE metrics and DevOps metrics could complement each other. I actually recommend it, although I have to admit I haven't seen it done that much, and I haven't had a client where I've been doing that, so I don't know why. It just seems logical. Excuse me. Automation is more widespread and consistent, so certainly having SREs that are automation competent on the production side with working with development can enhance the level of automation going on across the whole organization.